What would you do if the same family who erased you from their lives suddenly stood in front of you, begging you to save the one person who destroyed your name? My name is Dr. Elena Whitmore. I am 32 years old, and 5 years ago, I stopped being a daughter. Not because I failed, not because I ran away, but because my older sister told a lie so carefully crafted that my parents chose her version of me over the truth without ever asking for proof. I grew up in a quiet middle-class home in Hartford, Connecticut, where reputation mattered more than emotion, and obedience was valued more than understanding. My sister Vanessa had always been the charming one, the magnetic presence who filled rooms with laughter, while I was the quiet achiever who believed hard work could earn love. When I was accepted into medical school, it was the first time I saw real pride in my father's eyes, and perhaps that was the moment everything began to shift. During my third year, my best friend Maya was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I took an officially approved leave of absence to care for her through chemotherapy and the final months of her life. I told Vanessa, trusting her, not realizing she would twist that vulnerable season into a story that I had dropped out, lost control of my life, and ruined my future. My parents called me one night, not to ask if I was okay, but to accuse me. And no matter how much proof I offered, documents, emails, the dean's number, they refused to verify anything. Within minutes, they told me not to contact them again until I was ready to tell the truth. And just like that, I was cut off. My calls were blocked, my letters returned unopened, my graduation ignored, my wedding unacknowledged. Maya passed away that winter, and I stood alone at her bedside, holding her hand as she whispered for me to finish what I started. So I did. I went back to medical school with grief sitting heavy in my chest, worked relentlessly, completed my degree, and built a life without waiting for apologies. I became a trauma surgeon, then chief of trauma surgery at Mercy Ridge Medical Center, married a man who knew my story and never questioned my strength, and learned that silence can either break you or build you depending on how you carry it. Meanwhile, my sister maintained her lie, telling relatives I had chosen to distance myself, that I had issues, that I refused reconciliation, carefully protecting the false narrative she created. Then one night at 3:07 a.m., my pager went off for a critical trauma case. A woman in her 30s with severe internal bleeding from a car accident, and when I read the name on the chart, the world seemed to narrow. Vanessa Whitmore. For a brief second, 5 years of pain flooded back. But the oath I took as a doctor did not pause for personal history, and there was a life bleeding out on my table. I operated for nearly 4 hours, repairing a ruptured spleen and stabilizing her condition. And when I walked into the waiting room, my parents looked up to see the daughter they believed had failed, standing before them in a white coat with Chief of Trauma Surgery stitched on the chest. I calmly told them their daughter was alive and stable, and as realization slowly replaced certainty on their faces, I explained that I had never dropped out, never spiraled, never lied. I had called 14 times. They had chosen not to answer. When Vanessa woke, she tried to explain, but the truth no longer needed defending. It stood on its own. Eventually, under the weight of evidence and consequence, she admitted that jealousy and insecurity had driven her to create a story she never imagined would last 5 years. Reconciliation was not dramatic or cinematic. It was uncomfortable conversations, written corrections to extended family, therapy sessions, and slow rebuilding of trust that should have never been broken. Forgiveness, I learned, is not pretending nothing happened. It is deciding that your peace matters more than your anger, while still holding boundaries strong enough to protect your dignity. Today, when my parents sit at my dining table, there are 4 plates instead of 3. And although nothing can erase the years we lost, there is something quietly powerful about rebuilding on truth instead of illusion. I did not win by exposing my sister, and I did not heal by demanding revenge. I healed by becoming so grounded in who I am that no lie could permanently define me. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply living well, succeeding anyway, and allowing those who doubted you to witness the life you built without their support.